All right, so what's good, everybody? We're with Marissa Wehrer. You were first a fashion lifestyle blogger, and then you turned into a Facebook ad coach, right?
Yeah.
Now,
A big pivot.
yeah, so kind of tell everyone, how did you first start as like a vlogger, and then going into becoming a Facebook ad coach?
So I like to make opportunity for myself in many different ways. And so in college, I started a jewelry business to learn about entrepreneurship. And then I started a travel blog, but I didn't have money to travel really. So I figured maybe not. I moved to Spain, worked for a tech startup there. So I thought, travel blogging might make sense, but really I was working all the time. And then I came home and I said, why am I doing travel blogging? Switch it to something that made more sense with my lifestyle. And the whole reason I started blogging was to really learn about influencer marketing and affiliate marketing through blogging.
Hmm.
And so those are just opportunities that I decided to create for myself. And it also helped me run some of my first Facebook ads because I wanted to understand more about that as well. I did get a little bit of a taste of it at the first startup that I worked at. And I was very interested, I guess you could say. I was given the role to run ads for them, but I did not know what I was doing. And that kind of made me want to learn. So when I got home, I applied for a job to run online advertising campaigns at a local agency. And so that's currently what I'm doing full time. And then in my free time, I choose to coach others basically for free how to run Facebook ads because I know how it felt to be there right at the beginning.
Hmm. So you're a self-taught Facebook ad sort of person, because I don't think they teach this in school.
They don't teach us in school. And I don't want to say I'm completely self-taught because I do give a ton of credit to the agency that I wind up working at now. They taught me so much, but honestly, I say this often, you're never too far behind in the advertising world because things are always changing. Always. So it's like what I knew a year and a half or 2 years ago when I first started is completely different. What I do is completely different than what I do now. So you're never too far behind. It's never too late to get started either.
Hmm. And speaking about change, I was listening to a podcast, like the Wall Street Journal one, and they're talking about how like the iOS 14 update is going to change about everything about Facebook ads. And I know you made some videos as well saying that, you shouldn't panic and kind of you should observe it to see,
Mm.
how to adapt to it, right?
Yeah, a lot of people like to hit the panic button on pretty much everything. And it's scary. I'm not going to lie and say that we shouldn't be concerned, but everybody else is in the same boat. We're, we're America. We're going to make it work, right? Like, we're going to figure out a way to advertise to people. There are other technologies that are supposedly in work to replace basically cookies. And I won't speak to what that is because that's more of like a development thing that
Hmm.
I just don't understand. But it is my understanding that we will invent new ways to pretty much have good targeting that's not invasive to people's privacy.
Wait, so how does that work? So, I know Facebook has the collective data of everyone's, like, search and whatnot, but they can't get new data with this new update, right?
Yeah, so iOS 14 is basically asking everybody to accept to be tracked by cookies in every single app. And because of that, Facebook said that, you know what, we're just not going to collect any cookies from iOS 14 users. And so what this actually affects the most and why they actually decided to postpone it is small business owners who own apps who use Facebook ads to basically monetize their app. And so they would be losing a ton of revenue because nobody will want to target their apps for ads if they know they can't track the majority of the users. So in terms of like an economic standpoint, I believe Apple decided to postpone this part of that rollout because it's already a hard enough year. We did not need this too.
Yeah. So I feel like this can be very, very confusing to any like small business owner, maybe a new drop shipper. So let's kind of keep it basic to 101.
Mm-hmm.
What is like a Facebook ad and why is it so important?
So you want to sell your stuff, right? And
Mhm.
one of my favorite things about Facebook ads is that you can teach yourself to do it. There are other ad platforms out there that are not so easily self-taught. And so one of the reasons it is my favorite platform is obviously that reason, but also everybody's on Facebook. So if you're selling whatever it is, you would be surprised the amount of services that you can actually target on Facebook, including B2B. So if you are a B2B business out there, Facebook is still an option for you. And so basically you pick an objective for whatever you want. Do you want more traffic to your website, or do you want to sell your product? I'm willing to bet you want to sell your product, but sometimes you do need to go through what we call a funnel phase. So maybe you start sending people to your website, then you remarket to them to convert. And so some ways you build that ad is by picking an audience that you think will buy your product. They also have like really smart audiences that you can build based off of data that can get collected off of your website. So that does make it a little bit easier, and it's called machine learning. And yeah, basically Facebook does the hard work for you to optimize and get you more sales or more traffic to your website. And you can work on the messaging yourself and work on the creative, and that really just brings the whole campaign together.
So even before starting a Facebook ad or even thinking about it, why would someone go to Facebook first? Why not say Google, or maybe do a pre-roll on YouTube? Like what makes it that first step, or why should someone think about Facebook ads first if there's other alternatives out there?
I don't think that they should think of Facebook ads first. And this is typically like a more advanced conversation and a little bit harder if you're not familiar with all the different ad platforms, but you really do need to think about where is your audience and what are the targeting capabilities on each of the platforms. So I do Facebook ads coaching, but I only do it because I know it's easier to be self-taught, whereas doing Google paid search is not as easy by any means. But that's always a great option too. So if you are looking to start doing advertising, I would do your research first and figure out where your product will sell best. And sometimes you might need to test more than one platform or run on more than one platform, and that's okay too. A lot of people actually will advertise on more than one platform.
Mm-hmm. So say I'm running a dropshipping store or a small boutique and I want to run ads, and there's so many variables within the ads manager or just running an ad, because number one, you got to think about who your target audience is, and that's easier said than done. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, you have to have the creative. You can really overthink that, and that can, you can spend a lot of time on the creative alone, and that can postpone your actual ad itself, because you want to be a perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to know how to kind of use that data within the Facebook ad manager. If you have a Facebook pixel to track everything down and really learn like what's going on, like why is my Facebook ad not working or not? Is the landing page good at all? Like there's so many variables, and it'll be hard to kind of track for a beginner at least to say, okay,
Yeah.
which one's working? This is just a huge mess and it's organized chaos in a way. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's definitely the hardest part about it, I'll be honest. You can set up a campaign and it can do its thing, but at the end of the day, you do need to look at the data. That's the number one way you're going to make your campaign more effective. And a lot of people, like you said, do get caught up on what is a perfect message? What is a perfect graphic? Honestly, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you should be testing multiple things. You don't want the perfect message from the very beginning, because you're not going to have it, and it's always going to change. We're in COVID now. All of my clients had to change their messaging, right? Like things are constantly changing. You will never find that perfect ad. But if you do the optimization work, like A/B testing is what we call it, you test one headline against the other, you start to understand what your audience is liking better or what's working better this week or in this time that we're in. It's
Mm-hmm.
always changing.
Now, how important is it for any business to, allocate some percentage of their entire budget to advertisement? Should it be at least say 5-10%? Is it like imperative to have that?
I'm not a small business owner, so I guess I'm not the best person to answer this question, but it was always my understanding, at least from business school, that about a 12% budget or something like that, or 12% of your revenue should always go to marketing. And you want to grow your customer base. Think of the customer lifetime value that's going to come from getting a new customer. Yeah, you can spend money to try and get your customers to repeat buy from you, but how much cooler would it be if you had that system in place, but you're also consistently getting a new customer base? And then word of mouth plays in the favor of that as well. I'm huge into marketing. Like it really will only be good for your business if you have the appropriate marketing.
Yeah, I feel for like COVID, all these businesses that are struggling, and now that everything's moving online, they may be very naive to it, not have a good fundamental understanding of these ads. And, since they're running on thin margins, maybe they're gonna be like, hey, 10, 12% is a lot. I can't do that. And then they're gonna have to be
Yeah.
reliant on organic sales. And that can be kind of like a scary thought because you don't know what's gonna go on. Whereas if you run an ad, you kind of have good data,
Right.
kind of.
It's definitely tough. And a lot of our clients did stop their advertising, and a lot of them didn't, because a lot of them also understood the value of continuing their advertising during this time. But it really just does depend on your situation. For example, we had a lot of restaurant clients who clearly couldn't open for an extended period of time. So it maybe wasn't best for them to advertise right now because they didn't have much to share or offer.
Mhm.
However, if you are doing drop shipping or e-commerce or something like that, now is the best time to advertise because the competition is just so much lower. It might be a scarier investment, but it usually pays off in my experience. And maybe I'm just more, I am experienced, so I don't want to say that for everybody, but if you set yourself up for success, whether that means getting a freelancer or hiring an agency to do it for you, now really is the best time.
Well, you're saying that there's less competition today?
Yeah, well, maybe not today, but
What
there
part?
definitely was
Okay.
6 months ago. And I think, yes, it's still decreased now, but each day it's getting back up. And we are heading into quarter 4, which is the holiday season, which always just gets more expensive anyway. But it should be a little bit lower than it was last year just because of COVID.
hmm Now, just to provide like context, in your agency that you work for, what sort of clients do you or businesses do you work with?
Oh man, a lot. Plastic surgeons, tourism companies, restaurants, people who sell water heaters, really across the board, B2B, B2C, parking lots, and all the crazy things. We'll pretty much do anything.
But you personally, I feel like if you kind of work with, random, not random products, but like one service that's a complete bipolar opposite of another one, you kind of have to, you can't do a carbon copy of one
No,
strategy to the other. Do you kind of focus on one specific sector or do you kind of
sort
do
of.
everything?
I definitely do more lead generation than I do e-commerce. I work a lot with universities. That's just like a big presence right now for us in the company, but also surgeons. We have a lot of doctors, whether it's like an orthopedic surgeon or a plastic surgeon. Yeah, but honestly, we do it across the board, and it's not just me running these accounts too. I do have support from my team, so maybe if I'm not as experienced with whatever industry this is, I do have the support of so many other people to get their insight as well.
Okay, so in your line of work, how does it kind of work out? You sit down, you get a phone call, get an email, and like, hey, Marissa, I want, for example, 10% more sales for this quarter. Help me out. Let's do this together. Does it go down like that or like, I don't
No.
know.
So we're a company of, I guess, 40 something people, right? So we have a sales team. So they handle
Okay.
that. We have account managers who directly work with the clients. And so basically what you just said, it'll be me, the client, and the account manager. And yeah, he'll tell us what the goal is and what are they selling, like what have they sold in the past, who their customers are. They'll tell us all those things. And then I'll take all of those inputs and build a custom strategy for them.
Okay. And you have access to people who write the copy, get the creative, and all that fun stuff, right? You kind of just
Yeah,
create
I
a
do it
scene.
as well, just because you said sometimes it doesn't need to be like so sophisticated and like extreme. I'm not the best copywriter in the world by any means, but sometimes it is better just to pull copy off of the website in terms of machine learning and the algorithm understanding that this is actually a quality ad in terms of your landing page. So sometimes it is better to just pull copy from the landing page instead of writing really unique ad copy. Just a
hmm
small little fun fact there.
Something that's also cool, is that, say you're new to this or you kind of experience and you don't want to spend too much time testing new ad creatives, you can kind of go on Facebook ad library and look at other brands, seeing at what they're doing and kind of like copy their style or structure of their
Yeah.
the
I did
copy, the
that
creative.
literally like 2 days ago for sure. Or if you just want to stand out from your competition, right? Like you don't need to copy your competition, but you say, well, I don't want to blend in or make people think my ads are from this person. So make yours better.
Hmm. Now, okay, so when running the ad, you have to pick, I forgot the name of it, but there's engagement, there's conversions, like
Yeah, that's
what's
an
that called?
objective.
The objective. Okay. Um, like when I look at that, like not that I've ran like many ads before, but how do you know which one to choose? So I guess if you want to sell a product, you're gonna want to go to conversions, obviously, right?
Yeah, and it's not always that easy. I actually just filmed a video about that today, so perfect timing. It's actually one of my first long form content videos. It's like 7 minutes, but you can start with setting a goal. Basically, why are you running ads in the first place? Is it to increase your sales or hit a certain return on ad spend? And so typically you'll derive from whatever goal you set, your objective. I know there's a ton of people out there who go into this extremely blindly. They'll boost a post or throw up an engagement campaign because it's the assumption that, well, if I have more followers, if I have more likes, if I have more shares, I will therefore have more revenue. And I'm here to squash that theory. It's just not true. Um, Really, like if you have a smaller buyer cycle product, you can typically go straight to conversion. But if you don't, maybe your product is a lot more expensive, like an engagement ring. Sometimes you can't go straight to that conversion objective. And so I'll run a traffic campaign before to get somebody familiar with my brand. Maybe we have like a custom engagement ring process basically, and to educate them that that is an option. Um, Also, like you send those to men, right? Men don't know that they want to propose to their girlfriends yet, but you're dropping hints basically like, you're welcome, girls. And then we'll remarket in a conversion campaign. So sometimes you do need to pick more than one objective to build more than one campaign to reach your end goal. But it always starts with a goal.
So it's not a good idea to, just throw money blindly, make an ad and see if you get a return on investment.
No, it's really not. And a lot of people do that. I did that when I was running ads for my blog. I didn't know why I was doing it. I just thought it'd be cool to run an ad. And I'm here to tell you, think more strategically about it, especially right now while money might be tight.
Okay, so when you had your blog, you were running ads as well?
Yeah, I was doing traffic campaigns to my blogs, which had affiliate links. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what really came of that, to be honest. I didn't set up anything in order to track it appropriately. So don't be like me.
But that was like the first time when you were sort of experimenting with Facebook
Yeah,
ads and whatnot, right?
yeah.
And in that case, you were using what, conversion?
No, I was using the traffic objective so that I can
Okay.
get cheaper traffic to my website.
Hmm. Now, say a page has, 500,000 followers on Instagram. Of course, the organic reach on Instagram is not so great. And one might think, I want to create an ad where I have a lot more, you know, how should I say it? A lot more reach, a lot more reach. But in reality, if you have an organic post, maybe only like 10,000 people will see it, not your entire follower base, not the whole 500,000. So do you think it's a better idea to really create an ad that just targets your actual following instead of reaching out to other people outside of your following
Mm,
to sell a product or
it really
service?
does boil back down to why are you boosting that post, or like why do you feel that more people need to see this ad or whatever it is? And that'll probably answer that question. So if I, as an influencer, promoted a local restaurant or something like that, I probably don't want to show my ad to my followers. I probably want to show it to people locally in that area, or like the follower base usually is not even in line with whatever the campaign is for the influencer is anyway. I wouldn't really put too much stock into somebody's following, especially I've come from influencer marketing and the amount of people who do buy their followers. It's not the best way to target.
Okay. And now let's just follow along the boutique store example. So, you have the objective, you create the objective. Now it comes down to how much money do you want to put in? And I think the minimum amount is like $5. And of course you can do A/B testing. Now, is there a sort of a minimum requirement or kind of like a fundamental base on when to start? So for example, if you create an ad, create at least 3 more tests, maybe 3 different copy or 3 different creatives for that one ad, and maybe spend $5 each. That's like the 101 basic start for a Facebook ad. How do you kind of look at that?
I would say that's probably what I would align with. I usually tell people just because people want a number, not because this is like an end all be all. But if you're truly invested in Facebook ads, if you really want to see results, if you really want to collect the data to make your campaign better, which is also extremely important, I would start with a minimum of $10 daily. $5 daily would be like the absolute minimum. $10 a daily will get you so much farther, so much more data. It's like $300 a month. I really think it's not unreasonable to start with that as your marketing budget for Facebook ads. And typically, if I would to spend $10 a day, I would have 4 to 6 ads. And what you do with those 4 to 6 ads, whatever. But I think, yes, it would be more strategic if you were doing some sort of A/B test during that time so that you
Mm-hmm.
knew what wasn't performing or what you can pause and then start a new test. So yeah, that would definitely be the more strategic way to go about it with a smaller budget.
But like, how long should we wait for the ad to be like paused? Because people might be, hey, in 3 days I expect a sell or a conversion, but
Hmm.
in reality, they're like, okay, in 2 days I'm not getting anything. This thing sucks. I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
it. Boom, that's dead. But how long should you typically wait? And it's important to get that data. Maybe the first week is just to get that data, and then reiterate your process to do it again.
Right. That's there's like no set amount of time, and it is mostly dictated by your budget because obviously you'll collect data faster if you're spending more money.
Mm-hmm.
But I typically give it 2 weeks. It might be fine to check on a little bit earlier than that. I would say 1 to 2 weeks if you're spending $10 daily. If you're spending less, probably 2 to 3 weeks, but you do need to give it time to collect that data. If you have a true A/B test going on, there's statistical significance calculators online that you can use. I think Neil Patel has one, and that'll help you understand if your results are significant enough to make a decision based off of it. So that might
Mm-hmm.
sound really technical, but at the end of the day, you don't want to have like $5 spent on each ad and then try and make a decision based off of that. You really need to understand if you have collected enough data to make a decision to pause. And that's not easy for a beginner. And still to this day, I don't have a guideline on that. I don't think anybody really does. Facebook does have a learning phase. And so I
Mm-hmm.
definitely would let the learning phase end, but that doesn't necessarily dictate that that's when you should end that test. So,
Okay. In terms of getting that data, if you don't have a Facebook pixel, the ad manager still shows you the analytics, but I mean, I never used a Facebook pixel before. If you have that installed, what else does it show you?
okay, I 100% recommend installing the Pixel. That's like my number one rule whenever it comes to like I'm on my TikTok lives and everybody asks me like, what is that one thing I need to do? Install the Pixel. Seriously, because you will be able to build way more effective audiences because you have installed it. So I now can track data off of my website. And so I can remarket to website visitors by time on site, specific pages
Hmm.
they visited, whether they have converted on my website, whether they didn't convert, all these different things. And what that'll do is bring down will increase the cost effectiveness of your campaign, which is huge. Also, if you did a traffic campaign, for example, and you wanted to optimize for landing page views instead of link clicks, you can't do that without the pixel because you need the pixel to be able to track whenever the user actually loaded the landing page. So you do miss out on some really great opportunities with Facebook ads if you're not using a pixel.
Hmm. I think I have this Chrome extension, and it shows. I think I have it right here. Actually, I don't. But it's a Chrome extension where whenever you go to a website, it shows you if that website has a Facebook pixel, and it's really cool because like you can see like they're tracking you.
Using that on some of my patrons. They are always asking me questions on how they can make their campaign better. I'm like, well, did you install the pixel? Because I'm a snoop on you.
Oh yeah, you have that extension.
I've never heard of that. That's really cool though.
Nah, I'll try to find it. I think I deleted it for some reason. But yeah. Okay. Now the only thing I really do know is, cost per click, cost per impressions, all that lingo. That is not fixed. That kind of varies. If you want to run an ad, say this week and then next week, the cost per impressions might increase or decrease. Now, why is that?
Competition basically, and I actually don't look at CPMs all that much, and that's just because a lot of my clients aren't running brand awareness campaigns. But if you are running a conversion campaign, metrics that'll probably help you out better is like the website purchase return on ad spend. And in order to use that, you do have to have your e-commerce tracking set up with Facebook ads. But it'll make your campaign so much better if you're pausing based on the return on ad spend that an ad or an ad set is bringing you. Some other ones that I like are, like, I think you had asked me a question earlier, and it was, how do you know if your landing page is not working?
Mm-hmm.
And so my answer to that is, if your click-through rate's really high, but your conversion rate is really low, that starts to signal something to me. People really like my ad, but they don't like my landing page for some reason. Like, what is disconnected there? So there's actually no one metric that I'm specifically married to. They all kind of play a part in your end goal. But with each objective, I do tend to have like a favored metric. So the return on ad spend for conversion, click-through rate and cost per click for a traffic campaign, CPM for brand awareness. But they all kind of, they're levers that you can pull or manipulate in order to improve your end metric.
Mm-hmm. Say you want to raise, brand awareness for your business, personal brand, whatever it is, right? And you do an objective where you do the engagement objective. Now, obviously, you want to use that objective maybe to have one post go viral. Have a lot of people talk about it. When you look at that objective, what's more important, like likes,
I
comments?
don't recommend using it at all, and I can give you some alternatives. So my Facebook rep actually told me to never use it, and it's because it doesn't ever result in revenue. But if you do want to have something go viral, there's a better way you can do it. And it's actually the video views objective. And it's an amazing way to get so many eyes on a great video that you have created. And the cost per view is really low. I'm talking like less than a penny. So if you really want to get brand awareness out there, create a really cool video and run a video views objective. And then later you can even remarket to the people who have watched your video. So it's a way more effective objective to be using for that goal.
Do you think like running an ad with static images is dead?
No, it's definitely not. I would definitely test static images at all times, especially if somebody might not have the newest iPhone or something, and videos could be slower to load. So it's always nice to have at least one static image. And if you're not creating great videos, or the videos that will be engaging enough for your audience, sometimes images do better. So yes, videos do better, but I think you should always be running both and then testing them against each other.
Okay. When I look at, the whole process of a Facebook ad and, meeting the objective, I see it like a huge, chain. And obviously you want to fix the chain, or what is the part with the weakest link, right? And that might be the landing page. If you have like no experience working on that landing page, like, I don't know, like, do you have experience working on landing pages, and have you kind of addressed that to fix the entire issue, even if your click-through rate is awesome?
Yeah, I won't physically update the landing pages, but we'll give recommendations on why we think it might not be converting. And a lot of times it can be like misalignment between the messaging in your ad and then the messaging in your landing page, conflicting call to action. So maybe you said call now in the ad, and then on the landing page it's a form, and the phone number is hard to find or something like that. There's always something that you can do, and you can A/B test landing pages if you're not sure exactly why. Maybe you want to test the messaging or the bullet points that highlight the benefits or something. There's always a test that can be done in a way to improve a landing page.
Mm-hmm. What are some golden nuggets that you have that you know for a fact that would work most of the time? And what I mean is like, okay, if you have a really, really short call to action, or if you have, I think there's like an 80-20 rule or 70-30 rule where you have, you know, the text covers, no, no, sorry, the image
Like
of
a
your
20%
copy.
rule. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, are there kind of like small, minute differences in an ad copy or a creative that you know for a fact will help with potential conversions?
I want to say like yes and no. We just call them like best practices of what tends to
Mm-hmm.
be better, and definitely a clear and concise call to action. Don't beat around the bush. If you want them to do something, you need to come out and say it. Say, fill out this form. Don't say, we'd love to partner with you. Like, no, fill out this form so we can get started. Also on the landing page, just making sure that your call to action and the action that they need to take is one, super simple, two, above the fold, meaning if they open it up on mobile or if they open up this landing page on desktop, that action they need to take is right at the top. You have to keep in mind, people are busy. They don't want to have to figure out how to get in touch with you or buy your product. Same if you have an e-commerce shop. How is your checkout process? Make sure you're always shortening that and asking for the least amount of information. That also goes with getting leads. If you want high quality leads, sometimes you need to ask like a qualifying question, because Facebook actually will give you low quality leads quite often if you use the lead gen objective. I mean, those are like so random. All these golden nuggets are really random, but follow my TikTok. I'm always displaying those golden nuggets. That's what I bring to the table. It's just like these random things that I have learned in my day-to-day experience.
Mm-hmm. It's it kind of tricky because you can have one set of answers, but you can't apply it to your next ad. That's kind of like a carbon copy. I think one guy said, he tried to create a business, looking at the macro level. He tried to create one business, and it was very successful. But when he created yet another one, he tried to use the same exact practices and tools and strategies with that first business, and the second one went horribly wrong. And I think like that's kind of like how I look at Facebook ads as well, because there's so many variables. There's different people that you're targeting, and they may behave a lot differently, And
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why I do leave a lot of caveats when I'm making my TikToks. Just yeah, test it out. I'm never out here preaching this is what you're supposed to do and this is what will work for you. I'm always preaching this works for me for a client, and it might work for you if you want to test it as well. And I always try to give as much context as I can in a 15-second to 16-second, 60-second video. But absolutely, the messaging you have for a lawyer is certainly not going to be the same messaging that you have for like a restaurant and bar. And so the copy will look different. The seriousness of your videos or your images and all the things, you have to A/B test everything. And that's basically what running Facebook ads is figuring out what works for
mm-hmm.
your industry or your audience.
So you can't be afraid to lose money if you're going to do A/B testing and try different
Yeah.
things.
I mean, I wouldn't even say you're really losing money. I think in the long run, you're saving money because you're
Mm-hmm.
learning what's working better. And at the end of the day, you
Yeah.
are decreasing that cost per click, decreasing that cost per conversion, increasing return on ad spend. So it might seem short-sightedly that you are losing money, but you're really saving money in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Has there been times where you're running an ad and you just think that everything's so perfect down to the copy, the creative, call to action, landing page is so perfect, but it's completely horrible, like the results?
Yeah,
Have you experienced that?
yes. Basically, every time we set up a campaign from scratch, we don't have any data really to work with. So I set it up and I'm like, this is gold. This is going to start bringing it in right now. And it's like a week later, I'm like, oh my God, we still don't have a conversion. Like, what's going on? And like, you start to hit panic mode, but sometimes you have to make adjustments and you have to be aware enough to know, wait, okay, let me reflect. Like maybe that messaging didn't align right, or maybe this image isn't really popping out enough or whatever, but you need to definitely be consistently analyzing your results and thinking, how can I make this better?
Mm-hmm. Like say you're a social media marketer or freelancer and you're working for a client and everything's spot on, yet say your client wants to have more sales for his or her restaurant, but nothing's working. And of course, it's up to it's your task to help get more sales within that restaurant, right? Now, um, you can only do so much because you're not the owner of the restaurant. At what point do you know that it's actually the restaurant's fault for not, helping you get those
Yeah.
conversions?
That, yeah, it does happen. And maybe restaurants isn't the best example. I'm trying to think of one that might be, because restaurants are already hard to measure
Hmm.
their conversions to begin with. So
Yeah.
maybe if I was doing it for a lawyer and I'm sending them so many leads, and we do something called lead quality analysis. I can send 60 leads, but if 50 of them are low quality, then I'm not doing my job right. And
Hmm.
so if they're not telling me that the leads that I'm sending them are low quality, I can't help them. So
Yeah.
there is like a certain line where I can't do anything. Or are they not picking up the phones? Are they not are they not closing the deals because of, they can't close deals? That's not on me, at all. I'm sending them the leads, but there's always something like that happens, and you do just need to realign with the client, tell them why it's important that we have their participation. And it's not always the easiest, but there does come a time where you have to say, like, I did the best that I can. I have these recommendations that I think will help us, and if you can't participate, then it might not work.
Hmm.
That's a tough conversation.
Now, like say, yeah, so as a social media marketer, freelancer, um, you know, a business owner might want proof. They're paying for a service to, increase their sales and whatnot, right? And it can seem like magic for them because, they're really naive to social media in general, maybe, or in ads and whatnot, but they expect an immediate return on investment. And that may not be the case, right? However, they may ask, and has that happened to you where they ask for proof and how it's going to work? Show me the metrics. I need to see a visual representation on like, is my business working or not? Is like, am I getting more sales?
Yeah, that's God, one of the most important things at our business, because we wouldn't be in business if we couldn't prove it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of funny. There are times where we'll lose tracking on their campaigns for whatever reason, like tracking can break, and they'll still be getting their sales and they'll still be
Mm-hmm.
getting their leads, but we're in panic mode because it's like, crap, if we can't prove our value to them, then it's for nothing, right? Like, they think those are organic sales. We can't prove that they came from online advertising. So um, there's always, I mean, if you have like Google Analytics set up and the Pixel set up, there's always a way to track everything.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it tends to be a little bit harder for things like restaurants, where if they're not taking reservations, I can't prove that I sent them to book a reservation. I can't prove that they saw my ad when they sat down and ate. Maybe if there was an ad that had a certain coupon that they presented at checkout, we could track that. But sometimes you do need to get creative in order to figure out how you can prove what you're doing, right? And I would always recommend having a way to track your efforts, because it's going to be a detriment to you if you can't prove the return. He's just your boss, or your client is just, at the end of the day, not going to want to continue working with you if you can't prove that.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking like on a personal level, like you've probably worked with many businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, since you have access to those businesses and like the knowledge behind like each of those industries. So, for example, maybe you worked with a restaurant, a lawyer, a surgeon, an e-commerce brand. You kind of have all these viewpoints on what works, what doesn't. Is that something that you would like to do? Maybe like expand, your entrepreneurial adventure, do something different, run a business with the knowledge that you have right now.
Mm, Probably not, because I love what I do. I do love advertising, and I am very entrepreneurial at heart. My dad's an entrepreneur and always has kind of instilled those values in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did do a short stint of a jewelry business in college, but I'm very content with where I am now. I love working at the agency that I'm at. I've had a lot of people ask if I want to go off and run my own agency, and I don't. Like, I just don't
Mm-hmm.
right now. And I am really young too, so I have time to figure this out, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I'm just content right now, and really this whole thing is pretty new to me as well, doing TikTok and teaching. So I feel like I'm already in a pretty transitional phase already, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's very interesting though to see the inside of other people's businesses. I don't think there's a particular client where I've said, yeah, I want to do that. But it would be interesting if one did ever come along and I felt that way.
Yeah, because maybe you want to go back to your lifestyle blog if you're still doing it, and now that you have this new insight, you can definitely maybe do a better job with affiliate marketing and whatnot, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was a great opportunity for me to learn the things that I did, and I take those experiences now and I get to like use that, and I've learned so much. And I do think about it. Oh, if I did start doing it again, yeah, I'd probably really be really good at it, but it is a time commitment too. And that's just not where I want to
Yeah.
put my time right now.
Hmm. So you also have a Patreon, right? But you're not allowed to actually work. You can give like advice, right? But you can't really directly work with other clients, right? Outside of your agency.
Correct. I can't freelance or consult. Those things can be done through my agency. So I do refer a lot of people there. And so my Patreon really is for coaching, and I have like a private Facebook group. We do private Zooms. So I get to answer all of their questions. But there's really no point in time where I can sit down one-on-one and say like, and go into the ad account and like really dig into it. It's basically like present the facts to me and I'll give you my professional advice.
Mm-hmm.
They're all really great, and we get a lot of stuff done in my Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. So you can't work with like the people on your Patreon directly because you can't use the same tools that your agency is using, or is it just kind of like a contract situation that you kind of
Basically,
agreed?
it's just competition.
Okay.
It's not even that the people on my Patreon probably wouldn't be the best customers for my agency anyway, because we
Mm-hmm.
like to work with more established businesses, and I do work with a lot of startups. So, and it's not out of the question. I have not sat down with my agency to have this conversation. I just know what my employee contract says, and I don't have the bandwidth at this point to even figure that out. So yeah, I'm really content where I'm at, and my Patreon's a lot of fun, and I get to impact people's businesses by
Mm-hmm.
basically just, answering their messages daily. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And where do you go to kind of keep up to date with things? You said, with social media, things are very dynamic, things are changing. And, I never really listened to the Wall Street Journal like that, like the podcast. And I first learned about the iOS 14, disrupting
Mhm.
Facebook. And I saw in your videos that kind of solidified that fact too. If you're not really up to date with these sort of things, where can you kind of go and check what's going on with the algorithm and, to these changes in general to social media?
Yeah, I am actually not the best at keeping up with these things because it's almost information overload. My recommendation would be to pick your favorite marketing source. There's tons of blogs out there like WordStream and TechCrunch. Neil Patel has great stuff. Ad Espresso, Search Engine Land. Like, there's all these different blogs. You can't subscribe to them all. So maybe go and pick a couple favorites that you'll subscribe to. Also, I'm subscribed to the Facebook newsletter, so they'll come out with some
Mm,
big news like that there. But working in an agency, it's really great because I have 45 other people throwing articles my way that they think would be relevant to my day-to-day life. So it's almost like that's my source
mm-hmm.
basically, and it's really great. Also TikTok now. Anytime anything big happens in Facebook, I upload it to TikTok because I would want to know that too, right? So I
Yeah.
just uploaded about the 20% text rule going away. And then before that, iOS 14. So definitely look for your favorite resources to keep up with because there's so many out there.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you kind of see are the biggest mistakes that your clients or people on TikTok do when they ask you certain things or?
Uh, I mean, I do deal with a lot of beginners, so you do have to keep that in mind. So there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of people who truly like just want to throw ads up there and like maybe haven't thought through why they're running ads in the first place. So picking the objective seems to be a common issue, not installing the pixel. Those are probably the two biggest ones. And when somebody comes to me asking like, this isn't working, like my campaign's not working, please help me, and I'm like, okay, what's your business goal? What is your objective? Did you install the pixel? That's basically like my first three steps.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think having an objective, just just throwing money at Facebook Ad Manager and expecting or hoping a return on investment, sounds sweet, but it's good to have a system in place.
Yeah, it's not likely. I definitely wouldn't just throw money without doing a little bit of research first.
Yeah, because if you just start with Facebook Ad Manager, it can be very, very overwhelming. I'm pretty sure it was to you in the beginning too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny because I thought like I had run ads a couple of times, and then I told you I was at that startup where I said, "Yeah, I can run Facebook ads. Like I've done it. It's so easy." And then like I actually had to like sell something, and I'm like, "Oh, it's not doing
Hmm.
what he wants me. My boss isn't happy with these results, and I'm supposed to make it better." I'm like, "Oh crap." So, yeah, it's definitely really easy to set up. It's harder to optimize.
Yeah. Wait, how did you get that job in that tech job in Spain, by the way?
It was a family connection, basically. My dad is an entrepreneur, and yeah, somebody through a connection got it for me.
Wait, so you have family in Spain
No,
or
he's
okay.
no, he's just really close with my dad. We're not actually
Okay.
related.
Okay, that's pretty cool though. Having that opportunity to like, travel and work at the same time. And a lot of people they study abroad. That's pretty much it. But working in a different country, that
Yeah,
sounds
I
pretty
felt
dope too.
super, super blessed. Once in a lifetime opportunity. I miss it like crazy. It was such a beautiful country.
Who knows? You might go back to it. Right?
Maybe if I start working remotely, I can go back. That would be awesome.
Oh wait, but you don't go in the office, right? Everything's remote right now for your
Right
agency.
now, but we're going back probably in January,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe not. Who knows these
But
days?
do you think you work more effectively, more efficiently from home?
Yes and no, because I'm like a very like don't talk to me, I need to get my work done kind of person. So it does help me to not be in, a chatty office basically. But I'm just not set up for ergonomics here. Like I live in a shotgun in New Orleans, okay, and
Mm.
I have 3 rooms, and I'm living with my fiance. It was never an issue until we both had to start working from home. So
Uh,
I don't have the perfect setup here, but if I got a bigger house, maybe soon I could get a proper desk and not working.
yeah. It is something about going somewhere else to work. It is a lot more productive for some reason,
For sure. Yeah, and I started actually going to my parents' house for a really long time, which in hindsight was probably better for my mental health, like putting on my shoes, walking out the door, all those things. But I also like saving time and staying here. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Marissa, I don't want to take too much of your time. So if people want to like hit you up, know more about Facebook ads, join your Patreon, where can they find you?
So the best place to find me is on TikTok at Marissa Wehrer or on Instagram at It's Riss. They don't match because that was my blog, or still kind of is my lifestyle blog with coaching. But on each of those platforms, I have a link in my bio where you can learn more about my Patreon, what you can get out of it, and how it supports me. And then also, if you're interested in working with the agency that I work for, I also have some contact information there.
Cool. So yeah, I'll add all those to the show notes, the link to your Patreon, TikTok, Instagram, and do you have a YouTube channel? Because you said you had like a long 7-minute video, but what was that on? IGTV?
I do have, yeah, I'll give you the link to that, but I will be uploading my first video
Oh,
probably like tomorrow. So that's exciting.
so you gotta make an official like YouTube channel and take it,
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm
Yeah.
starting with this one. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, because on TikTok, you have 15, 60 seconds to talk about Facebook ads, but you know for a fact there's so much to
People
talk
are begging
about.
for more content. They want a course, they want YouTube, and I get it. It's hard to learn straight from TikTok. So I'm gonna try and get
Yeah,
what you want. We'll see.
that'd be cool. So yeah, Marissa, I really do appreciate you being here. I think we've learned a lot about Facebook ads.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. And good luck to everybody trying to
All
run
right.
Facebook ads.
Thanks. Awesome, Marissa. Thank you.
Bye.